Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to give it another minute for people to log in, and we'll get started in 30 seconds. Great. Hello again. Thanks, everybody. Hello. Yes, please drop your name, your comments in the chat. My name is Patty Curtis, and I'm a senior STEM advisor in the Office of the Deputy Secretary, Cindy Martin, at the U.S. Department of Education. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to the fourth in a series of You Belong in STEM webinars. We're thrilled today to be collaborating with our federal colleagues at NASA to talk about inclusive higher education STEM pathways, particularly for students attending minority-serving institutions. Thank you to all our attendees for joining. I think as of yesterday or this morning, we had over 1,400 registrants. So please feel free to drop your name and intro into the chat. The chat is really great opportunity for folks to connect with each other, with us, share comments, resources. So feel free to carry on there. But more importantly, if you have questions for our speakers, please use the question and answer feature in Zoom so we don't overlook anything. Please know that we are recording this event, and we will email it to all our registrants and post it to our webpage at ed.gov/STEM as soon as we can humanly transcribe the conversation. As you can see, we have ASL interpreters, and there is also a transcription service you can use in Zoom. Now for our standard disclaimer, any content or opinions expressed in this webinar are not that necessarily of the U.S. Department of Education, nor an endorsement of any person's products, programs, or policies mentioned herein, but we sure hope you enjoy the conversation and the resources we have to share. To start, I'd like to provide a little background on the department's You Belong in STEM initiative. In December of 2022, Deputy Secretary Martin launched You Belong in STEM as a component of Secretary Miguel Cardona's Raise the Bar mission, and garnered the support of hundreds of national, regional, and local organizations to work toward our three goals. We believe that all students deserve a rigorous, relevant, and joyful learning experience. Next slide, Robbie. Thank you. Second, we want educators to join, grow, and stay in STEM education. And finally, we're investing and directing funds to support these goals. Next slide. With respect to funding, the Biden-Harris administration has invested over $1.6 billion in STEM education. And we issued a STEM Dear Colleague letter, which is our method of providing technical guidance to states and school districts on how they can use their federal dollars to support STEM education. You can find this on our website at www.ed.gov/STEM for this important document, and sign up for our monthly newsletter. You can view past webinars and discover lots of other helpful resources from the department. Next slide. Today, we'll examine efforts to increase diversity in STEM and higher education. The U.S. Department of Education has several programs to support STEM education, STEM degree attainment, as do other federal agencies that are concerned about the future of the STEM workforce, including our friends at NASA. So let's jump in. Our first speaker today is Amanda Miller, Deputy Assistant Secretary for Higher Education Programs. Amanda has more than 3 decades of experience working inside and outside of government. Before coming to the U.S. Department of Education, she worked in the U.S. Senate, served as an advocate consultant for several educational nonprofits, and vice president at Teach for America. Amanda also served in the Obama and Clinton administrations. And today she will share how the U.S. Department of Education supports minority students in STEM and higher education pursuits. Deputy Assistant Secretary Miller, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And as the Patty explained, I'm the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Higher Education Programs here at the U.S. Department of Education, which means I oversee all of our federal grant programs to institutions. And I'm proud to work for a president and a Secretary of Education who recognize that we need to do whatever we can to increase educational equity, including in STEM fields, and who aren't afraid to speak out about it. Their words and their actions, as some of which Patty explained today, have demonstrated their commitment to that educational equity in numerous ways. And one of those ways is in the investments they have made in funding for colleges and universities to promote STEM among underrepresented students. We know from the department's civil rights data collection that students of color are disproportionately excluded from learning opportunities in STEM. Too often, systemic barriers, including bias, racism, sexism, ableism, exclusion, discrimination, cultural disincentives, and chronic underfunding, deter people of all ages from considering, pursuing, and persisting in science and technology careers, and limit instead of expand participation in science and technology. We must continue to all work together to break down institutional barriers that too often stand in the way. Today, in my role as the DAS for Higher Ed programs, I wanted to just highlight a couple of our grant programs that we are investing in that can benefit your schools as they work to promote minorities and women in STEM fields. First, the implementation of the Minority Science and Engineering Improvement Program is one way that the Department of Education is putting the administration's commitment to equity into practice. MISIP grants assist predominantly minority institutions to invest in science and engineering education programs with the goal of increasing underrepresented students, especially minority women, into science and engineering careers. We know that it's working. Through the work of our grant programs that invest in STEM education, we've seen improved recruitment and retention outcomes among underserved minority undergraduate students. We have seen opportunities for internships and research projects for minority STEM students. And through partnerships with other federal agencies, including NASA, our grantees are supporting career pathways for students who may otherwise not have the opportunities or the exposure to STEM professions and may be discouraged instead of excited about the path forward to a STEM career. We've also used other funding opportunities to promote and prioritize STEM investments. One example of that is through our POA grant program. POA stands for Promoting Post-Baccalaureate Opportunities for Hispanic Americans. This year, we had a priority for HSI grantees who invest in STEM by creating projects designed to increase the number of Hispanic post-baccalaureate students and educators in STEM. Research has shown that students are more likely to succeed in college when they have faculty members who look like them and who can serve as mentors. And that diverse faculty enhances the college experience for all students. If we want to bring more diversity to the STEM workforce, we have to make sure that students have diverse educators to help bring them there. One other program I wanted to highlight is our TRIO program, Upward Bound Math and Science, which is designed to help high school students recognize and develop their potential to excel in math and science and to encourage them to pursue post-secondary degrees in math and science, and then hopefully careers in those fields. We know that investments are critical throughout a student's education pathway, and this program ensures we are starting with students early. First generation and students from low-income backgrounds can benefit from the programs that this grant supports to help them succeed throughout their high school and college trajectories. We know at the Department of Education that only through rigorous and relevant educational experiences will students from all different backgrounds be empowered and inspired to fully contribute to our nation's workforce. And we can't thank you all enough for spending your time today to learn more about these opportunities. We urge all of you to go back to your schools and make sure your leadership knows about these programs and knows to keep an eye out on our website for these funding opportunities. We want you to think of all of us at the Department of Education as your partners as we build this partnership together. The next generation of scientists, engineers, computer programmers, and mathematicians, and our nation on the whole will truly benefit. Thank you again for having me here.
Thank you, Deputy Assistant Secretary Miller. I really appreciate your brief review of all the wonderful programs that we have to offer students, particularly at minority serving institutions. I'm a big fan of the MSEP program, Minority Science Engineering Improvement Program, and some of our student panelists later in the program have benefited from that program. So we're excited that they were able to join us. I understand your schedule requires you to leave us now. So thank you again for this opportunity of sharing these programs. I dropped your website in the chat and I'll make sure that everybody gets it in the follow-up email. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Next, I have the honor of introducing our first guest speaker from NASA, Deputy Associate Administrator Tori A. Johnson. Tori serves in the Office of STEM Engagement, or OSTEM, at NASA headquarters, just right down the street from Department of Ed. NASA's STEM engagement investments are aimed at building a diverse future STEM workforce, the next generation of explorers. As a member of the executive leadership team, Tori is responsible for 150 people across the NASA enterprise and manages a $144 million portfolio of investments. Deputy Associate Administrator Johnson, thank you for your collaboration with the Department of Education and for joining us today.
Hi, Patty. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you for having us, and I appreciate the invite. Well, good morning and good day to all of you. Welcome, students. I'm seeing all of the folks from around the globe that are checking in, so we welcome all of the students, university and partners. I'm glad to be with you today, and also thank Deputy Assistant Secretary Miller for joining us earlier with her remarks. We do have a partnership, several, as an agency with our colleagues down the street in education, and just want to let you know about the work that we're doing within the Office of STEM Engagement. If we could go to the next slide, please. So while they're queuing up the slides and getting them in front of you, I just want to let you know that NASA really is engaged in this next generation of explorers. We call it Artemis, or the Artemis generation. And we continue to make significant investments in STEM because we believe it's not just our future, it's our present. And we want to ensure that we are equipping this generation with our unique content that we have within our agency. If we're able to see the next set of slides, Robbie. There we go. Thank you. So briefly in front of you, you see our vision and mission, and ultimately we're in the business of engaging students, and we want them to see this rich work that we're doing across the agency. We want students to be involved in our mission. And in order to do that, we have some strategic goals that you see at the bottom. From left to right, we're looking to create unique opportunities for students, building a diverse STEM workforce by creating authentic learning experiences. Some of my colleagues will be sharing some of those kinds of opportunities for students later in this presentation, and ultimately attracting a diverse group of students, sparking interests and providing connections to our work. We want it to go beyond the walls of our headquarters or our centers around the country and bring in everyone to this discussion as best as possible. Next slide, please. So we have a particular strategic objective, 4.3. It's part of our strategic plan as an agency, which is building this next generation of explorers that I mentioned, engaging students to build a diverse future STEM workforce. And we've got 4 priority areas that really align with what our colleagues at education are doing. But specifically for NASA, we're talking about broadening participation in the fullest sense as it relates to DEIA, as well as belonging. Building and strengthening strategic partnerships and networks. That's what this effort is about. How will we do things? We go further and do more when we're connected with others. We also want to have a beneficiary focused framework. What does that mean? We feel that students are ultimately the beneficiary of everything that we do. You'll see that in another slide. And so we want to have that focus in mind with everything that we're creating. And then lastly, but not least important, evidence driven and continuously improving. How do we do that? We've got to hear other voices. We've got to learn from one another, and that we're open to letting the data drive us forward. Next slide. So it's a lot going on here, but we'll sort of share from the left to the right. We have themes, our mission directorates. We've got earth sciences. We've got, you sort of think about rockets and space, but we're built up on mission directorates. And so you see those on the left, and that drives the kinds of work that we do within the Office of STEM Engagement, our projects, if you will. And so we have 4 congressionally appropriated projects, a space grant, which is with 52 consortia, how we get STEM into the states around the nation, our hands and feet, if you will. EPSCoR, which is focused on stimulating aerospace in states and areas, we call them jurisdictions, that may have a deficit in terms of their particular aerospace research dollars in that state. And so those are overwhelmingly focused on building capacity in those particular states at universities. Europe, you're going to hear more about that, our focus on MSIs, and we have a keen effort and program established to engage and support minority serving institutions. And lastly, our K-12 efforts, Next Gen STEM. On the far right, you see some of our cross-cutting efforts, tools and platforms, performance and evaluation. Again, how do we drive the things that we're going to do? We drive them by evaluative studies, performance data. What we learn about a thing or things informs how we do them in the future. Our strategic partnerships that we discussed, and then you'll hear more from Ebony talking about internships and fellowships. And ultimately, on the far right, beneficiaries going from K-12 moving all the way to graduate level. And I'm not sure if I've got one more slide or if I'm handing it off to my colleague, Kia Briscoe, and we'll go from there. Thanks, Patty.
Thank you, Tori. Thank you, Deputy Associate Administrator Johnson. Appreciate your leadership and commitment to bringing young talent and finding a path for STEM and providing guardrails to get them across the finish line. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
To learn more specifics, we're fortunate to have 2 additional NASA speakers with us today. Next up is Kia Briscoe. She's a program manager for the Minority University Research and Education Project, fondly referred to as MUREP. Her professional portfolio includes extensive experience in leadership development, organizational health, plus diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Throughout her career, Kia has successfully implemented strategic initiatives to foster inclusive workplace cultures, enhance employee engagement, and drive organizational performance. Before I turn the floor over, I know some folks have expressed concern about seeing the ASL interpreter. We're working on that. One suggestion I have is you click your view and pick side-by-side gallery so you can see everyone that has their camera on. I hope that helps. Sometimes what we see on the administration side is not what the viewers see, so I apologize for any issues there. So now I would like to turn it over to Kia Briscoe.
Thank you, Patty.
Of course.
Next slide, please. So I'm super excited to join you here today to talk to you about the Minority University Research and Education Project, affectionately called MIREP. Robbie, thank you. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So today I will be talking to you about MIRAP, as well as you'll see a little bit later in this presentation. I'm also going to be providing you with some overview of some opportunities that are outside of MIRAP, but also within the NASA domain that may be of interest to you. So MIRAP has been established to increase NASA's responsiveness to federal mandates related to MSIs in underrepresented and underserved communities. Now, what you see here is MIRAP's vision and mission, and what that shows you is we use this as our guiding principles for how we do the work that we do to fulfill these mandates and ultimately impact the STEM ecosystem. Next slide, please. So we have 3 pillars of investment and engagement, which is research, infrastructure, and capacity building, student engagement, and partnerships and sustainability. Next slide, please, Robbie. The screen went black for me. Thank you. And you could click through the transitions on this slide. Thank you. So what you will see here is how MIRAP engages with HBCUs and MSIs. And what this is some examples of the type of efforts that happen within our pillars, from mission-driven research efforts to challenges and competitions, which you'll hear more about from my colleague Ebony later, as well as internal and external collaboration. Now, the key here, and what we find to be really important, is that it doesn't matter which pillar you are accessing, our targeted outcomes are the same. That it's mission-centered alignment and approach, that we have enhanced STEM capabilities at MSIs, we brought in MSI participation, and student success. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. So we have the MIRAP Earth System Science Research Notice of Funding Opportunity currently open. It was released on July 30th and it closes on October 30th of 2024 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern. MIRAP in the Earth Science Division is seeking partnerships with MSIs to build research and education institutes to study the ecosystem impacts, environmental hazards, and the fragility of the MSI's region. Tomorrow, on Thursday, August 15th, we will be hosting our first pre-proposal webinar. If you are interested, you can use the link included in this slide to register. Also, I believe we will be dropping the link in the chat as well. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. We had the NASA Transform to Open Science, which is TOPS. And the goals of TOPS and this is through our Science Mission Directorate, is to increase understanding and adoption of open science principles, as well as to broaden participation by historically excluded communities. Now, through TOPS outreach, NASA has created the Open Science 101 curriculum. This curriculum is aimed at empowering researchers, early career scientists, and underrepresented communities with the knowledge and tools to embrace open science practices. There are 5 modules to this course that is accessible via a self-paced open online platform, and it's free to enroll. And you can use the QR code on the slide as well as the information to access. Next slide, please. The Planetary Science Division has the Here to Observe H2O program. H2O is a program intended to improve representation in planetary science by opening the doors to NASA missions, providing undergraduate students a window into the exciting world of exploration. Faculty members from non-R1 institutions may apply to participate in H2O and receive funding, and proposals are accepted on a rolling basis. Next slide, please. We also have the NASA Science Mission Directorate Mosaics, and it's an opportunity for faculty and non-R1 and MSIs to partner with NASA. And this is a relationship between faculty, principal investigators, and NASA co-investigators to build and strengthen the partnerships between SMD and emerging research institutions. And it could be in any science, engineering, and/or technology area that's relevant to SMD's objectives. And again, if you would like more information on the Mosaics program, you can use the information on this slide. Next slide, please. In terms of how you can connect with us, we have the MIREP MSI Exchange. The MSI Exchange is a public website and a searchable database that has where you can find capabilities at HBCUs and MSIs that are relevant to NASA's mission. Also within the MSI Exchange, you can access capability statement training as well as our bi-weekly MSI engagement newsletter. Next slide, please. EONS, which is our engagement opportunities in NASA STEM. And it is an omnibus announcement that includes NASA STEM engagement opportunities for basic and applied science and technology research and education. And our annual release will be on November 15th. Next slide, please. If you would like to learn more about MIREP, and this could be more about our project in general, how to access funding, MIREP contacts, you can use the QR code or the QR code to access our website. Next slide. And here is the Office of STEM Engagement here at NASA, and we can be found on any NASA STEM on social media. Thank you.
Thank you, Kia, and our audience for your patience as we try to troubleshoot some of these Zoom issues we're encountering. But thank you, Kia, for all that you do to support the minorities, our minority-serving institutions. And I'm going to drop those links in the chat as soon as I can after I introduce our next speaker. Next slide. Now we have Ebony Maureen, a program specialist in the Minority University Research and Education Project, or MUREP, as we have heard, at NASA. Ebony is the MUREP Student Engagement Pillar Lead and has managed several projects in the Office of STEM Engagement, such as the Next Gen STEM, which focuses on K-12, internships and fellowships, and other higher education programs. Ebony is committed to engaging students, educators, and faculty in NASA missions. After Ebony's presentation, we'll invite our student panelists to join in by turning on their cameras and mics, and Ebony will moderate the student discussion. And then we'll take questions from the audience. I'm trying to answer some of those questions as we go, and I'll also close with a few reminders. So now, Ebony, the floor.
Okay, thank you, Patty, for that introduction.
Sure.
Can we go to the next slide? So I am going to provide you with a few overview slides of some NASA opportunities and student engagements. Next slide, please. So the first overview that I would like to provide for you is our internship program overview. So NASA OSTEM internship program offers 3 sessions for internships. We have sessions in spring, summer, and fall. All those sessions are paid opportunities, and they are available for high school, undergraduate, and graduate students. Basic eligibility requirements for a NASA OSTEM internship is being a U.S. citizen enrolled full-time and have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. I did see in the chat about someone requesting information about international opportunities. NASA also has a separate international internships that can be found on our nasa.intern.gov website. We currently are open for spring 2025, and the deadline is actually coming up very soon, which is August 23rd. So if you would like to apply for an internship, we have spring 2025 available. Next slide. So our internships offerings are agency-wide at our at our 10 centers or test and research facilities. Each center offers a variety of internship opportunities, from in-person, hybrid, to virtual internships. Next slide, please. Again, you internship application for spring 25 is open currently, but you also can see the list of all the upcoming deadlines for our 2025 internship opportunities. You'll also get to hear from some of our former interns, and you'll be able to hear their experiences during our panel later on in this webinar. The slides went black. Thank you, Robbie. All right, next slide, please. So in addition to internships, we also have fellowship opportunities. NASA fellowship activities is in partnership with the National GEM Consortium, and it engages underrepresented and underserved minorities in STEM graduate academic programs, masters, PhDs, etc. GEM provides highly qualified faculty, undergraduate and graduate students in disciplines needed to help advance NASA's missions. Fellowship opportunities are focused on innovation and generate measurable research results that contribute to NASA's current and future science and technology goals. We currently have a fellowship application cycle open. It closes November of this year. So if you're interested in fellowships, you can scan that QR code for more information. Next slide, please. So now I am going to go into some of our student opportunities and challenges. Tori mentioned about being the Artemis generations. We actually have a few student challenges that we have created under the umbrella of Artemis Student Challenges. So the Artemis program will land the first woman and the first person of color on the moon using innovative technologies to explore more of the lunar surface than ever before. So these NASA student challenges and opportunities are suited for middle school and high school, community colleges, and universities across the nation. You can discover all of the Artemis student challenges and explore how you can take part in them by scanning the QR code. We do have other opportunities. Next slide. That are just normal student challenges that don't fall under the Artemis program. So NASA's regular student challenges and opportunities provide today's students with authentic opportunities to contribute their ideas and technological solutions to the agency's most pressing needs. These are just a few of the many amazing mission-related challenges that we have. We have many opportunities that's offered specifically by NASA centers and agency projects. So you can learn more about that by scanning that QR code on the screen or going to the website linked in the slides when you receive them. We just wanted to show you some a few of the many challenges and opportunities that we offer within NASA. Okay, next slide. So now I would like for us to shift to our student discussion panel. We'll be hearing from 5 amazing students who are here to share their STEM journeys and how they navigated their federal opportunities. So right now, I would love for each one of those student participants to come on screen and unmute your mics so we can jump right into our discussion. Thank you. So we are going to get right into it. We're going to first take a moment to introduce each one of yourselves, what major you have currently, what school you went to or currently go to, and your career goals, and what opportunities you participate in currently. So we'll start with Abi. We're just going alphabetical order.
Hi, everyone. I'm Abi. I'm a incoming second-year student at the University of California, Irvine, and I'm a computer science and engineering major. And some of the opportunities that I've participated in include the App Development Challenge and the Artemis Student Challenges. I've also twice participated in the Kibo Robot Programming Challenge and as also the NASA Suits Challenge. And currently, I'm in Houston because I'm a Pathways intern at Johnson Space Center.
Thank you, Abby. Jabril.
Greetings, everyone. I am Jabril Muhammad Jr. I'm originally from Selma, Alabama. I recently obtained a Bachelor's of Science in Mechanical Engineering, concentrating in manufacturing systems. During my time in college, I was able to participate in the NASA Human Exploration Rover Challenge. Last summer, I joined the Minority Science and Improvement program, and I participated in a NASA internship at Marshall Space Flight Center, which then I transitioned into a NASA internship through the O-STEM program. I will be pursuing a Master of Science in Material Science, and as well, I have a tentative offer as an aerospace engineer with NASA.
Thank you, Jabril. Mackenzie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mackenzie Contreras. I am currently a student at Texas A&M Kingsville. I am a senior. I will be graduating in December. My major is mechanical engineering, and I recently finished an INSEP internship there at Marshall Space Flight Center. I currently have a tentative offer to go back to Marshall upon graduation, and some programs that I have participated in is the MIREP with Southwest Research Institute, and currently this one with Marshall, the INSEP program.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Sammy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sammy Rahman. I'm from Port St. Lucie, Florida. I currently attend St. Thomas University in Miami Gardens, Florida, where I'm a senior majoring in computer science, and I'll be graduating this December. This summer, I was lucky enough to be part of the Minority Science Engineering Improvement Program with NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center, and it was one of the greatest things I've done throughout my academic career. And looking forward, I am focusing on graduating this December and continuing a previous internship with Homeland Security Investigations.
Thank you, Sammy. And Tara.
Hello, my name is Tara Roanhorse. I am part of the Navajo Nation. I go to Haskell Indian Nations University in Lawrence, Kansas, which is a tribal college. I just graduated with my associates in media communication, and I will be going back for my bachelor's in business administration and then my master's in Indigenous Peoples Law. I was a social media intern for at NASA internships this past summer. And then I'm hoping to come back in the future, intern with them again. Pathways internships open today, so I'm hoping to apply to one of those. And then my future goal entirely is just to be a communicator of science to people and help just bridge that gap.
Thank you. Thank you all for your brief introductions. So let's dive right into our first question. So Mackenzie, I want you to start us off with this first question. Could you tell us who or what inspired your current STEM journey?
What inspired me to be into STEM was, I believe, my 7th grade year. I was recommended by my math teacher to take a diagnostic test to join a federally funded program called TexPrep, which is a Texas pre-freshman engineering program at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Upon taking the diagnostic test, you were then placed into categories or classes based on your test scores. And I was part of this program for about 3 years. And then I joined their U-Prep program their last year, my 4th year, which allowed me to take college courses at the university for the summer.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Anyone else would like to share who or what inspired their STEM journey?
I'd like to jump in on this question. So I always like to talk about family and my father. He was a very successful electrical engineer. So I feel like it's always good to have a big role model in front of you, especially when pursuing STEM. Try and find somebody who's a role model who can guide you and give you a good path. You know, luckily I was able to get some of his math traits, which led me to computer science, a little different. But I think it's very important to try and find a role model and somebody who can help introduce you to the right path in STEM.
Thank you, Sammy. two different inspirations. You all are still leading up to here. You're in STEM. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to jump in before I move to the next question? No? Okay. So the next question, I would love, Tara, for you to start us off with answering this one. What was the application process like for you? And what did you highlight about yourself in your submission of your application? I've seen some questions in our chat already about tips and tricks on how to receive an internship, or what could they do to stand out. So could you give us some insight from your perspective?
So the application process was pretty straightforward. It's just fill in the blank mostly. What is the really good part of it is there's some questions at the very end about why you should be selected for this internship and why they should reach out to you. And with that, I just dove into my background. In my culture, we honor the moon and the sun and the space. So I just talked about how it was a good way for me to connect that with Western science and how I could bring that to the table.
Thank you. I really love that you put in that connection, that you connected yourself within your application, your values, your background. Would anyone else like to jump into that question about what did you do to highlight yourself when you were applying for your opportunity?
Sure, I can jump in on that really quick. So, um, in highlighting myself, one thing was I applied to an internship after having done student challenges. And I think this helped because of the fact that I was able to make connections in Johnson Space Center's Office of STEM Engagement. So I knew a lot of people in that office, and I'd met a lot of engineers on site. And I kind of knew what they were looking for based on those past experiences, which includes a problem-solving ability, tenacity, want to like overcome challenges, and really ask hard questions is a good way to put it. It's like when you ask those questions, those are kind of what define the engineering process as a whole. And so I brought that into my application and I talked about it in the interview, and I think that's a big part of how I got the opportunity.
Thank you. All right. Abby, I'm glad you actually spoke last, because this next question is geared to you because you've participated in our student challenges. You had a unique avenue to getting to your Pathways internships. And there is some questions in the chat asking about competitions and how did that happen. So this question is, do you have any advice that you would give to anyone that's on this call right now that would like to know how to form a successful student team for challenges? I know you participated in ADC and suits. So how did you form your team?
Sure. So our team was a little bit unconventional in the sense that we were all friends before we made the team. And so the first team that we made for the ADC was in high school, and we all knew each other, and we were all interested in computer science and STEM related opportunities, and we all were pretty sure of ourselves for doing a STEM degree in the future. And so because of that, we all decided to team up for the challenge. But one thing that we really made sure to keep in mind was the fact that we didn't want to designate a set leader for the team. Keeping all of us on the same level playing field allowed for us to not be afraid to bring up new ideas, build outside of the box from the minimum constraints of the challenge, and also switch avenues when things look tough down one road. When we got the opportunity to freely do that, instead of having like a direct hierarchy where we were reporting to one student who was the leader, then it created a structure where, as I just saw in the chat, yeah, there was no pressure on anyone to have their own ideas. And so I think that was really helpful in making us successful, and we continued that throughout the rest of our challenges.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Definitely, I seen that comment in the chat. It was great. No pressure, right? That was really an interesting way to build and move within your team, to have no hierarchy and everyone is responsible and accountable. So I'm going to move to the next question. And Sammy, I want you to kick us off with this question, please. I would love to hear, what was your, or is your biggest takeaway from your experience that you've recently had?
Yeah, so I have two. Things that I took away from the summer that I'd love to highlight. The first is relationships and networking is everything. When you're thrown into an unfamiliar situation where you might move to another state like I did, I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends prior. It was just a weird situation that I had to go into. So I think building relationships and making a network is everything. That was one of the biggest goals of mine. And it truly elevates your experience. Like without the friends that I made over my summer and without the mentors that I talked to, I would not have had the experience that I had. And these relationships are things that will build on to the future as well. You never know when you might need somebody's help, whether it be a job or just anything in life. And my second takeaway is to never doubt your abilities. No matter how difficult the task that you're given, you're going to be given a good, hard task when you're thrown into a place like NASA. And it may feel overwhelming, but you have to trust the hard work and dedication that you've put towards getting there. And through that, you have to believe that no matter what, you can overcome any challenge in front of you.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate your answer. That was definitely inspirational. I would love to hear someone else jump in, and I'll repeat the question. It's just, what is your biggest takeaway that you recently had with your opportunity? What did you learn from it? How did it impact you moving forward?
I'll jump in on that one. So I was actually a virtual intern out of headquarters this past summer. So it was a very different than being in person. It was, you had to really go out of your way to connect with other people and make friends. So I would say that your internship's what you make of it. I took the time to reach out to people to know what I wanted to do and get out of my internship, and just not say no to opportunities because you don't know what's going to happen. Just the other day, we had 2 days left of our internship, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to do a video with Megan the Stallion?" Like, yeah. So it's what you make of it and what you say yes to. So I think that's the biggest takeaway, is just it's what you make it.
Thank you. Tara, you should have called me. I would have been in the video with you. So next question, and this one I want to kick it off with Jabril. You talked about mentorship earlier. So what is a key to having a strong relationship with your mentor? What do you believe is the key that you utilized during your internship?
Yeah, so the foundation within a relationship is just communicating, being open to sharing about yourself, being open to hearing about what got your mentor to the position that they're in. I remember the earlier stages of my internship where I just sat down and told them, hey, I became interested in mechanical engineering just through 3D printing during high school. And they shared with me as well. I did my master's. They did their master's in additive manufacturing with metals. And from there, we were able to conduct our internship in a way that we both were getting something from. I was able to continue their studies and what they were looking for with the program, as well as I was gaining knowledge that I never had before, which was regarding metal additive manufacturing. And then that also opened up the floor to being comfortable with me sharing any challenges that I came up with over the summer. I faced that summer essentially. I was comfortable with meeting with them weekly and saying, hey, this is something I didn't understand or I kind of struggled with last week. This is an obstacle I faced. What are your suggestions? And as mentioned earlier, being able to answer or ask the right questions are great in guiding a final solution when it comes to engineering.
Thank you. I just love that response. Asking questions, no question is a stupid question. And I think that engineers love to talk and they love to give you the answers and give you the science. So definitely that's one thing that we always say to our interns is please ask all the questions. They are happy to answer them. Anyone else want to jump in and let us know what was the key for them to having strong working relationships with their mentor?
I guess I'll jump in. I really didn't have like a communication aspect with my mentor, but us being on the same level to where I was barely learning how to use a program, he would jump in and we would be on team meetings for about maybe 2 to 3 hours, and he would walk me through steps on how to do tips and tricks throughout that new software program. And if I had any other challenges or situations that I came into trouble with, I would just call him and he'll be like, I'm here, ask any questions, send me a message, call me. It's best to ask questions and not ask. And even if it wasn't with a software program that I was barely learning, he was helping me with like Excel spreadsheets, what articles or textbooks I should read to learn more knowledge on what projects he was giving me. So I would broaden my knowledge with everything that was going on within the internship itself.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it just goes to show that mentors are willing to just reach out and help you and help build your knowledge. You know, I've interacted with a few mentors and they're like, we'll do whatever it is to help our interns learn. They are passionate to see you grow as well. So thank you for that input. So we're about to close up. I have about 2 more questions. The next 2 questions I would love for everyone to answer or give input into the answer of this question. And I think that many people would love to hear this is, what was the biggest challenge you faced during your opportunity, during your internship, during your student challenge, and how did you overcome it? So we're just going to go in alphabetical order for this question. So Avi, I would love for you to start here with the answers.
Sure. I think the biggest challenge didn't really come from what I was working on, right? Because a lot of the stuff that I work on is something that you can, with eventual searching and enough hours that you put into it, you can figure out and build a solution. But I think the biggest challenge that I faced was a severe feeling of imposter syndrome, as if like I wasn't, I wasn't like qualified just in like being myself to be there or in that opportunity. And I remember I was like looking at my resume and I did multiple rewrites just out of like a loss of confidence in what I was writing. And so I think that's something that you just have to tell yourself, that you're there for a reason and you're there because you deserve that opportunity. You've worked hard for it. And that's something that once I realized it, it made it easier for me to be able to give everything my all.
Thank you. Imposter syndrome is real. Even as a grown adult, I still feel it sometimes. Jabril, please.
Yeah, that imposter syndrome was definitely hard getting over the first like week or so. So, great point there. I would say just being able to maintain your project management throughout it, especially when you're coming into a summer internship where you have 10 weeks to come in, get an understanding of what they're looking for, what is your project, what resources do you have, and then being able to communicate everything you've done within that short time span and then the results that you were able to produce. So I would say definitely project management was another challenge that I faced besides imposter syndrome. That was definitely the biggest though.
Thank you. Mackenzie.
I'd say time management is one of the big challenges I faced throughout junior high, high school, and my college career. I always had to manage my time going from practices to summer programs and then going and practicing again and making sure everything was getting done within the day's worth. But having good time management skills is what would really help you throughout the long run.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Time management is definitely one thing. Sammy.
Yeah, so my biggest challenge came with my project itself. My project was something called dual quaternions, which is something I couldn't even pronounce at first. It's an advanced subject that I had no idea what it was. It's fairly new. So it was kind of trying to build the background information with that. But the way I overcame it is kind of how Jabril was talking about earlier, communication with your mentors. I let my mentor know what I did, what I didn't know, any questions I had, I asked him. And by the end of my internship, I felt like a pro at the subject.
Thank you. And then Tara.
So my biggest challenge was more having to do with my culture. I can't look at certain things, like I can't look at an eclipse because it's just like not something we do in my culture. And so being able to be mindful of how I can communicate that with my mentor and with my team, because just some of the meetings I'd be in, it would be 300 people. So obviously they don't know. So just making sure I had that communication open with my mentor, and he would make sure I was culturally safe in that aspect.
Thank you. I love that. So I do want to say that we are going to be entering into the last question. And for this question, I'm going to kick it off with one person. And then I just want you kind of all to, once that person is done, pick up and answer, insert your answer for this question. So I'm sure everyone on the call, especially students, would love to hear, what is one big piece of advice you would give students who consider these opportunities? What's one thing you can give to them as the biggest takeaway from your experience?
Yeah, so I'll just jump in with this one. So I would say to remember that your network is your net worth. A lot of us got our opportunities by communicating with our professors, or in some form or fashion, our professors highlighted that we had skills that was eligible to gain these opportunities. And then lastly, also with that, develop your project management and time management skills through your coursework throughout college. These will build skills that will be essential to your future career path.
I'll jump in. I say take any opportunity that's given to you. You never know where that will lead you in life. Anything is given to you, you showed and you proved yourself. That's why the opportunity was given to you. So take it.
I'd like to second that, Mackenzie. I mean, if I were to look back at my situation a year ago, I was focused on collegiate basketball and I was not focused on STEM or where I would be today. So I think the biggest thing is to just take risks. If you get this opportunity, it's once in a lifetime. So make the most out of it, take the risk. And like Mackenzie said, you never know what will come from it.
I would agree with that. I would say for me, I would tell everyone that there's space for you. No matter what your background is, what you're studying, what you do as your activities in school, there's space for you. And so you just need to take that opportunity.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate all of those big pieces of advice. I'm going to transition really quickly before we close out of our panel to address some questions from the chat. I do want to say, if you are on this webinar and you have dropped questions in the Q&A part, we are addressing them directly there, or we will get back to you with the email response. There's a lot of questions coming in. I'm looking at 36 right now on my screen. So we took a few from the chat and we're going to ask it to you all. The first question I would love to hear an answer to, it says, to the ladies, and this is from the chat, to the ladies on the panel, what would you share with middle school girls who may like science and math, but do not have the confidence or community to support or encourage their journey? How can they stand out and still be cool? So I would love to hear what you all think about that. And if you would like for me to repeat it, I can.
I think that they just are cool. I come from a very, very rural area where it's not cool to like science or math or anything like that. And while I did stand out from pursuing these things, I think that's what makes you even cooler. And so you should just rely on yourself and what you know and just be who you are.
I second that. Being just there. I mean, if your community doesn't support it, there's always other opportunities. You could go do research and find any opportunity that's out there. I got most of my opportunities through connections, but that's not always the case for everyone. As long as you go and you put yourself out there and you find what you're looking for, so submit the application or apply to it and see where it takes you. You never know what can happen.
Thank you. All right. And then this question, anyone can jump in. I love this question. It says, for any of the students, so this is geared to anyone, it says, do you believe that your high school grades matter more than your out of school enrichment during your STEM journey? So basically they're asking, did your grades play into a part, or did your extracurriculum and the things you did outside of schoolwork, did that play into a part of your STEM journey?
So I'd like to answer this first because in my situation, I feel like my high school grades did matter. When I was in high school, I wasn't sure. I didn't even know that I would be in STEM. Like I said before, my whole life was sports and athletics. So STEM wasn't the first thing on my mind. I didn't do any extracurricular activities besides sports, but I did have really good grades and a high GPA, so that's what boosted me into STEM. So I feel like if you don't do outside activities, maintaining a high GPA is one of the most important things to get yourself into the field.
I'll jump on this one too. Contradictory to what Sammy said, yes, GPA definitely matters, but do explore those opportunities. I got into STEM by taking a tutor, like it was like an assessment thing that goes off of your personality and makes suggestions of what career path you may, fit with. And engineering was one of those. So from there, I decided to take drafting classes where we did more like home layouts, and I got an interest in STEM through that. I took various competitions I participated in, and then I had a chance to network and identify those who were close to me that already were in those career fields, and they pretty much guided me along the way to selecting my STEM journey.
I'll jump in also. I think both play an important part into where you see yourself at the collegiate level, because my extracurricular activities and my academic activities all played a part into where I would end up in my college career.
I'm going to jump in too, because I actually had a very different journey in high school. I was very much into sports and doing extracurriculars, but I didn't care so much about my grades. Um, I didn't feel challenged at school, so I was very, very average student. I just didn't care too much. But when I went to college, I have perfect grades. So I think it's all about what you make it out of, not necessarily what your high school self did.
All right, thank you. And thank you for also, Abby, I see you answering questions in the chat as well. So thank you for that as well. So I have another question for you all. It's anyone. It says, any advice to students from out of state thinking of moving to an internship in another state? So if you have participated in an internship that is not where you live in, did any of you participate in an internship not where you lived in, or currently
Yeah.
participating in one?
Yeah. So I have a bit of a like experience in that. I'm from California. I was born in California. I lived in California my whole life. More so much so I go to college, like I commute to college, so I go to a college close to home as well. And I'm now over 1,000 miles away in Houston interning. And I actually even made the drive from California to Houston to move properly. And so it's definitely been an experience and it's been an adjustment because there is such like a different, not just in weather. If anyone knows Houston weather, you know how bad it gets at times. But also in like the people that you meet, the environment that you're in. And when you're associating that, all of those new changes with work, it does get to be a lot. But it can also be a rewarding experience because it gives you a completely clean slate to meet new people, make those connections, and even make lifelong friendships, which is something that's already been happening throughout the internship.
Thank you very much for that experience that you have. So I have another question anyone can answer. It says, do you have any tips on dealing with a project that did not work out? How did you, or if you've experienced this, or how would you respond if you had a project that just didn't work out?
So I'll go ahead and answer this. I feel like if you have something that did not work out, the most important takeaway from that is ask yourself why and what went wrong so you could prevent it going forward. If you know what went wrong, why it didn't work out, you could take all these things and learn. It's a learning experience. You're an intern for a reason. So it's okay for you to not fully complete your project or not know everything going in. That's why you're there. You are there to learn. So if you don't complete it, it's not the end of the world. As long as you take lessons and you learn, regardless, you take those and you move forward, and the next time you'll be more prepared.
Anybody else want to jump in? Sammy, I definitely love that. And I think that sometimes that's overlooked, because internships are learning opportunities. They're not jobs. You're not expected to come and be perfect. Like Mackenzie said, she had her mentor helping her with the program that she was supposed to be using for internships. We're not expecting you to come with your cup full. You're supposed to be learning. So I have an actual question in the chat for me specifically. It says, where can students find opportunities across the country? Or do other degrees or non-STEM have a chance at NASA? So I'm going to answer it, and then I would like to hear someone else's input on this as well. So non-STEM degrees have a chance at NASA. We actually offer internships in business, in architect, whatever it's available. It's more than likely we offer some type of internship throughout the sessions for that. So we do cater to non-STEM related majors. Where can students find opportunities across the country? So when the slides are made available on the Department of Education's website, there's QR codes that I had on my 2 student opportunity slides, or you can just Google NASA student opportunities. We have, again, what I showed you was just a little tip of the iceberg. There are so many opportunities across the country for middle school, high school. We have K-4 opportunities. We have higher education opportunities specific for MSI students. So that is also there. And then I've seen that I have a lot of questions regarding international students. So if you go to our internship website, which is, there's actually a tab for international internships. And there you can find all the information on how to participate in our international internships. And then some of our opportunities are available for students that are not U.S. citizens, not most, but some. So hopefully that answers some of the questions I have for me. And here is a question, my last question, then we're going to wrap up. One more question, Patty, because I think this one is good. And I think Sammy hit on it a little bit, but we would love to hear. It says, do you have any tips for networking and making connections besides putting yourself out there? As a high school student, they want to have the ability to set themselves up for future academically and socially. So love to hear someone's response to that. What advice would you give to this high school student regarding networking, connections, and putting themselves out there?
I'll jump in. Just talk to your teachers, talk to your professors. They'll be able to get you connected with people that could help you further your career, or just give you some insight on things that you want to pursue in the future.
Thank you. Yes, Jabril, did you want to give an answer? I seen you look like you were gearing up.
Yeah, Mackenzie really hit it like right on the nose with that one though. Talk to your teachers and professors. If you at a career high school level, if you have any type of like career tech classes, go talk to those people. That is literally their job to make sure that you guys have an understanding of how the job process goes, what skills you can look to gain throughout high school. And then if there are any like networking events, any opportunities to go to like social events, go there. Just be open to speaking with people. If you want to get into LinkedIn, you can go on YouTube and understand how to set up LinkedIn. There's an entire professional network there that is really there to meet with you. Connected.
Thank you. So as we close out our panel and Q&A session, I want to thank each of you for your willingness to share your STEM journeys, your experiences, and your stories. I know myself and NASA Department of Education have been thrilled to work with you and your universities, and we are excited for your futures, and we thank you. Patty? over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ebony. You did a fabulous job with these amazing students. So excited to have you all here sharing your stories and tips. The chat and the Q&A were like on fire. We cannot keep up with the audience inquiry. So again, thank you for sharing. We will do our best to go through the chat and the Q&A and answer these questions like in a FAQ or a fact sheet that we can send out with the recording and possibly the slides. If not the slides, all the links that are in the slides. So again, thank you to our speakers, our interpreters, our student panelists. So exciting to see you soar. And I speak for all the federal employees on the event today that we feel a wee bit proud to be a part and small role in your success. And we hope that you continue to pay it forward. Share with your colleagues, share with your friends, share it on social. I didn't hear anybody say LinkedIn, but that's a great way to expand your professional network. We'll certainly all accept your invitations. Thank you to our audience for turning in. We had an amazing turnout and really appreciate you signing up. You will receive, as I mentioned, the email with resources, whether you joined late or you weren't able to make it. Everyone that registered will get the information. We encourage you to visit ed.gov/STEM and stem.nasa.gov to sign up for our newsletters. That's a great way to stay in touch with programs and new releases and opportunities and discover additional STEM resources. The next You Belong in STEM webinar is scheduled for September 17th at noon Eastern Time, and we will be addressing AI and other emerging classroom technologies. Again, an invitation will be sent to all of our newsletter subscribers, so please do that if you haven't already. And until then, remember, you belong in STEM. Thanks so much.